Welcome to High School Backups Podcast. My name is Nick, and this is episode, I'm looking at it right now, 41. And we are happy to be here today. We're happy you are here with us. If you're listening or if you're just simply sitting on the live stream, we appreciate you. And this is a great day, even though the Patriots lost on Thursday. It is a fantastic day. Anyways, Austin's not muted and barking at his dog, so that's always good. And we're gonna go ahead and move on to some actual news for today. Obviously, I hope you all are doing well. It is I like to say holiday season. Thanksgiving just went past. We are heading towards Christmas. All the fun stuff starts to happen. Steve's girlfriend asking me for ideas for Christmas presents. She buys him Patriots tickets. Lucky guy is Steve. I know he's excited to go.
Oh,
There's, it's all just it's a happy season. I'm sick, so that's the not happy part of the season.
You're
again?
still sick,
No,
bro?
I'm still sick, but I'm at the end of it.
Oof.
As you can hear, my voice is okay. I'm not in pain, so I'm just coughing still. So that'll be happening. I'll be trying to mute while I'm going, but if I'm talking, I'm screwed. So, anyways, we're gonna touch on some very small things before we get into the deep discussions tonight. First piece, Bruins lose their first game at home. It was a shootout loss to the Golden Knights, a top 5, top 3 team in the NHL right now. So be it. It sucks. They were down 3-0 with a good portion to go with the second period. They came all the way back to tie it and go to overtime. It happens. It's a good team to lose to, especially to still get a point out of it. Sucks it was at home. Oh well. Celtics are continuing to dominate. They had a good comeback win over the Raptors last night. They continue to do their thing and stay hot, so that both teams are doing really well. Both are essentially top seed in their conference. Uh, Quick shout out to the Lakers. They're looking pretty good for a team that shouldn't be looking good, and Anthony Davis should get traded because his value
Yeah.
is going to be through the roof.
Dude, Westbrook has looked so good off the bench, too. It's nuts.
Well, because he's
Yeah,
not
it's like
accepting it.
when he has like no weight on his shoulders, he's like, I guess I'll actually play for my contract's worth almost.
Yeah, he accepted his position on the bench, and because of that, he is thriving, which is just like happened when he was the only player for OKC. Like, he accepted the fact that he had to do everything. And now he accepted the fact that he doesn't have to do everything. And because of that, he's doing well. So, happy for him. No baseball news whatsoever, right? Austin, I don't think really anything happened. Didn't someone sign? Like, one of,
There's been some big signings, actually. You want me to hit that?
if you know him off the top of your head, go for it.
Let's go. All right, Jacob DeGrom signs was it a 40-year, 185 or 95 million dollar? Actually, I don't know if it was that high. It was, I think, 145. Either way, it was
pretty
a
high.
big. It was a huge number. Over 100 million. It was 100 something 5 something. Anyways, not as big of a deal. He signs with the Rangers though. That's huge. Jacob DeGrom leaves the Mets, and I was wondering if the Mets were going to be left with their shit in their hands. They're not. They went out and signed the next best, or arguably even better, pitcher on the market, and they signed Justin Verlander. Yeah, so that's great. Actually, it is pretty good for us, hopefully, because they're not actually going to be. They're going to find some pitcher from the freaking Walmart parking lot, and he'll be better than everybody. And Astros will just bend over my team and rape them again like they did last year, but that's all right.
Careful with
So, anyways, what?
be careful with your words. Keep going.
That's fair. I forgot I was not Deshaun Watson there. Anyways,
Jesus, continue.
It took us what 8 minutes to talk about this
Bro,
guy?
we weren't even going to talk about it. We weren't even going to talk about it.
sorry, too late. Anyways, moving back to baseball. Who is it? Trevor? Not Trevor Story.
Guys, welcome to our last episode.
Trey. I just got us canceled. Sorry, sponsors. Trey Turner signed a humongous $300 million deal with the Phillies. It's an 11-year, 300 and it's ridiculous, 300 something million. He ends up at 27 AAV for 3 years, so it's actually a low annual value contract, but it's a huge thing to lock him up for 11 years. That's going to be interesting to watch, considering he's already turning 30 this year, so he's going to be freaking 41 when that ends. So that'll be interesting to see how he does. So some of the top prospects are already gone, and from what I've been hearing, the Giants offered Judge $360 million. So he's probably gone. He's probably gone.
I was gonna. I was gonna ask Austin, how do you think that deal affects Aaron Judge if he's gonna be 30? He's gonna get
The
an
300
11-year deal.
million. No, let me see if I can find it. But it was supposed to be a small, like not as high, it was supposed to be a ridiculous annual contract value, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I
Important
know.
note, while Austin's looking that up, Aaron Judge was spotted in Tampa Bay with the boy, the GOAT himself, Tom Brady, with a Mike Evans jersey on. So I don't know. Is Aaron Judge?
Tom
going
Brady's
to
finally
Tampa?
moved on. Good for him.
Yeah.
Oh my.
That's pretty good,
Aaron
Steve.
Judge will not be a Tampa Bay Ray.
If he
No.
is, Kyle and
Um,
Austin will lose full forever.
So there's a whole thing about like I don't know if what the Yankees are going to offer him. From what I can hear, there's a lot of internal talk between the Judge camp and the Yankees, and the Judge camp thinks there's going to be a deal done soon. So I don't know if the actual 360 million contract is true, then I don't know what they're going to have to offer him. Obviously, a lot of money, but. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But he's going to get a lot of money no matter what. He's going to be over 300 million. The Yankees already offered him 300 million. So at 8 years, it was a ridiculous contract in and of itself there. So he's going to get money.
360 million. So
Could he get that? He could, if that's true, what the Giants offered him. From what I can tell, he still would rather be in. From what I can tell, Judge really loves the guys he's played with in New York. He wants to stay with him. He loves the teammates. He loves New York. He loves being in the big market, and he obviously makes tons of money being in that kind of market. San Fran's another good one to go to, but it's not as big. So it depends on what the Yankees offer him, when he gets his bonuses, things like that, and whether or not he thinks he can still make more money off the field by staying in New York, which in baseball is still a really good bet because if you're the face of that franchise, you're going to make a lot more money through endorsements and things like that than going and being the face of like a San Francisco or something else. But
we say that, but if you go 10 years back, the Giants are winning what felt like every other World Series. So
It was every other.
yes,
I
they
know,
were winning a
like,
lot. The
they won
problem
3 of
is,
them.
even still, it's about the amount of fans, marketability, that kind of stuff. In New York, you have just that many more fans than you do in San Francisco for the Yankees. Plus, around the world, they're like the 4th or 5th highest
Ranked sporting
ranked
team in the entire
Yeah, so if you're there, you're going to make more money no matter what. But
So
that depends on if he wants to go home because he's from the Bay Area, or not the Bay Area. He's from from California, if I'm not mistaken. He went to college out there and everything, so he might go home. Who knows?
So my bigger question about Judge, right, is in the NFL we see a lot of guys care about not getting the income tax, so they go to states like Florida or Texas and play with
Right.
teams down there. Does Judge take that into consideration? That hasn't been as much a baseball thing as it has been an NFL and NBA thing. I mean, mostly the NFL though. But does Judge care about that enough to go take a deal from, the Astros or the Rays, or if he's in Tampa Bay with big old Tom Brady there?
Certainly not the Astros. And I don't
there's-
know. Austin, looking at it, like most of the teams in states like Texas, states like Florida, kind of suck. So other than Tampa, who is
He wants to
such a
win.
good team.
So he would
So-
have to go if he's going anywhere. He'd have to go to something like the Astros.
He could win with the Giants.
I mean,
Do the
Tampa-
Astros have
Yeah,
the
but I'm
cap for
saying-
him, or
If he wanted to go somewhere like Jake was saying, with like low income tax or no income tax, he'd
the
have to go
salary
to
cap
something
doesn't
like,
exist in baseball, Steven.
Yeah, there is.
oh, that's great.
There's a
So
luxury
they can
tax.
just go wherever they want. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so there's a luxury tax type thing, where it's kind of like a soft cap in a way. That's why the Yankees haven't spent over, because Hal Steinbrenner he doesn't like to spend like his father did. His father could give a crap about how much money he spent. He just wanted teams to win. His son wants to win, but he wants to make sure he's running a business and making money off of it. So he tries to maximize, and that's why they haven't. They still had one of the highest payrolls in the MLB for the last like decade, and they spent. I'm not even joking. Their payroll over the last decade has been like a couple $1 billion, which is sad considering they haven't won a goddamn thing. But
Yeah, it usually wavers around 300 million. That's the hard part.
Mhm.
Anyways, the problem is
So-
nobody really knows where he's going. There's tons of options. I'm pretty sure there's 32 MLB or 30 MLB teams that would take him.
there's 30 MLB
Well,
team.
the
Well,
truth of the
29
matter
other ones.
Now, I would say, but I would say 30 because the Yankees are also.
That's fair. That's fair. So yeah, 30.
Mm.
The Astros might be one of those teams that might not be willing to take him. it may be the Phillies because they just won and they already spent a lot of money. But pretty much every other team would be willing to take him if they can afford him. So he really has his pick. He can choose winning. He can choose money. He can probably choose both. So
Yeah, he really can. Yeah, I say if he chooses, the problem is if he chooses New York and let's say the Giants, and I'm pretty sure that's like a confirmed thing that they offered him 360. If he actually offered him, if they offered him 360, and the Yankees go up from their 300 million, let's say they go 340, and they're like, we won't go to 360, but you get to stay home where you already are, all this stuff you get. I think that's enticing. And then the problem is, well, what do you do now if you're the Yankees? You're either going to have to spend ungodly amounts of money, which they already are now, but then on top of that, just to get into a place of winning, possibly, or you got to hope the young guys that are in your farm system can step up and play like they do for the Astros. The problem is the Yankees are notorious for not playing their young guys, using him as trade bait, bringing in a guy like Frankie Montas last year from the A's, and him absolutely sucking and being worthless to the point where you want to offload him. And so now you waste your young guys. You don't get anything good. You don't go out and sign big free agents like Correa or Bogarts or somebody else like that in free agency. Then you're stuck with guys like Judge, who is great. Everybody wants him. But the problem is you only have him. Like, at the end, in the second half last year, they had, I'm not even joking, if you took him out, their offense was in the bottom 3. With him in it, they were in the top half. I don't remember if they were. I think they were like just kind of average or a little above average. That's how insane he was at the end last year. It's just ridiculous. He took a team literally from bottom 3 all the way up to
I think it was 12.
average to above average. Yeah, exactly. I think it was like 12. It was something stupid like that that I saw.
pretty much any other playoff team, they probably win the World Series. Is really the way to look at it.
Unfortunately,
I'm guessing
probably not
is-
because he sucked in the playoffs.
I guess
have
he
to
did
give him
suck
that.
as he always has in the playoffs. So maybe not.
I mean,
No. He had
I
a
wonder
couple.
if
He's
he's-
had a couple really clutch years, but other than that, yeah, he's had
I wonder.
fancy.
Oh, sorry. I wonder if he's taking
You're
into account like a more balanced team as well. Because I mean, when Brady left to go to Tampa Bay, he was looking for a team that can basically support him with a great offensive line and pass catchers and stuff. So I wonder if do you think he'd be willing to maybe take less of a salary in order to get a team that's a real contender potentially?
If he takes less to say, hey, spend on other guys, then I think he would stay with the Yankees because while I don't love Cashman as a GM, he is really good at getting the most out of money and like getting players that'll play outside of I mean, I can't say he didn't do a good job last year. He didn't do a good enough job to win, but he still did a good enough job to get almost 100-win team and get guys like Jose Trevino, who the Rangers traded to him, and other guys like that to like really perform well. If he goes to somewhere like San Fran, he's not getting anything in San Fran besides going there being the face. They have Carlos Rodon, but they don't know if he's going to stay there because he's a free agent. And they have some other people, but it's really not like he's going to find that balance in San Fran. And so a lot of the teams that are going to be able to pay for him, other than maybe like the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are always somebody that goes in and just signs huge free agents because they don't care what they spend. They're the only team that I can think of that he goes there, and now you have that really balanced team. But they don't have Trey Turner, they don't have some other people. So getting a balanced team like that's going to be hard unless he goes to a young team that maybe could step up with him this year, like a Rangers team, honestly, that was not great last year but had potential. Or he St. Louis, maybe even goes to like Toronto, like if Toronto wanted to pay him and they had the ability to because they haven't paid their guys yet. So like something like that. Maybe a Mariners, Seattle Mariners. That would be like one if they were willing to pay for him. He could go there. They have him, Julio Rodriguez, good pitching. Like they have what they need to do that. So the teams that are considered suitors right now and that have been rumored around him, stuff like that, they don't have that. So he either has to just go there and hope people perform well and outperform what this is expected of them, and he makes a magical run, or he stays in New York, takes a small pay cut, which he doesn't want to do, obviously, because he could have done that last year, and he bet on himself. So he doesn't want a pay cut. But if he takes a pay cut with New York, they have a chance to then hopefully go out and sign some guys like Carlos Rodon or somebody else like that, solidify the starting pitching. But in the end, what they need is offense. Last year, they were fine in the playoffs with starting pitching. I mean, the Astros only scored like 3 runs on them, maybe 2 runs on them in most of the games. So it wasn't like they were blowing them out. The problem was they didn't have any offense. So
Yeah, I can't wait till he goes to the Red Sox. So We're gonna go
Yeah,
ahead.
and Bogarts comes to us.
Yeah, I don't think Bogarts would go to the Yankees. I'll be honest. I don't think he'd want to. I think he would go somewhere else before the Yankees. But I guess we're not really gonna know. We're gonna find out sooner rather than
We
later.
are.
We have plenty of
When
time.
can he start like talking with teams or potentially signing with new teams?
They can all
Already
sign
started.
right now. Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Damn.
like I would say if you had a list of the top 10 free agents, pretty sure 3 or 4 have already signed.
Yeah.
So Cody Bellinger just signed today. So out of the top 10, 3 of the huge names are on the board right now. 2 pitchers and Trey Turner, and then a couple others that are middling have gone and left. So yeah, there's definitely
There's still the biggest name, which is probably Aaron Judge. just 'cause
yeah,
he's-
and then Correa after
Mm-hmm.
that. Correa hasn't made his decision yet. So
Yeah. So I mean, people still want the Red Sox to get Correa, but I think he already said no.
but at that point, why don't you just keep Bogarts?
Yeah, that's the issue. But nobody really knows what the fuck's going on with that team. So fuck it. Anyway,
I mean, hey, we're both in the same situation.
yeah, really, we're all struggling out here. So we're gonna move on to some larger subjects we have going on today. I knew that might spiral out because nobody really knows what's happening in the MLB world. It's a lot to talk about. Ooh, Austin. Ooh, he can't hear.
Ooh.
Anyways, other than Justin's karate kick flip he did over his bed about 10 minutes ago.
I was wondering if you saw. I was wondering if anyone saw that or
I've
how
seen it.
well it could be seen on camera.
Dude, I did not see
know.
that.
Justin's literally just let me stretch real quick, and he's doing handstands and doing flips on his bed. Sorry, I was just stretching out real quick.
It's Ninja Warrior time for Justin. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cough, and then we're gonna move on to the next.
Bless
subject.
you.
So
Gesundheit.
first thing I do want to talk about, we're gonna save the big party for last so we can temper ourselves with time. Let's talk about the college football playoff. Another piece we're gonna talk about, the Heisman candidates just came out. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Jake didn't have that on the list, but I just remembered it happened. So
Down
it'd be
for
worth
it.
talking about. So let's talk about the college football playoff. So, the poll that we had was right, I'm pretty sure, Jake, or was it not right?
The poll that we had was right. Essentially, with the USC loss, Ohio State got in, and the matchups are going to be Georgia and Ohio State, and you've got Michigan and TCU. And honestly, I just want to talk about like what we think is probably going to happen with the semifinal and the actual college football national championship. For me, honestly, I don't think Ohio State poses a threat to Georgia in any way. Not going to lie to you, especially with Jackson Smith and Jigba sitting out. He already said he's going to sit out. And, I mean, you're talking about a team that just got blown out by Michigan without having Blake Corum, who is a Heisman snub, by the way. We'll talk about that later. And with the Michigan-TCU game, I mean, I love Michigan. I'm a Michigan fan, but also I kind of love the storyline of TCU. And Max Duggan played his absolute heart out against Kansas State. And if you didn't see that game, I feel bad for you because that was one of the greatest college football games I've ever seen in my life. Max Duggan is an absolute dog. And honestly, all I got to say to you is by the time he was done running and carrying all of TCU on his back, he could barely stand up and walk off the field.
Literally.
Like,
and
dude-
didn't give him the final carries. Like, what?
Don't even remind me about overtime. But honestly, no. TCU earned their place at number 3. I think the college football playoff got it right. There are some people who think Ohio State should be at 3 and TCU should be at 4. I don't necessarily agree with that. USC dropping out makes a lot of sense. Ohio State was better on paper. If all USC had to do was win the Pac-12 title game and they got their ass kicked. I know that some people here do not agree with the USC dropping out. Kyle, I'm looking at you, buddy.
Kyle.
I
And
think
that,
I'm the only one here, which is fine.
I understand your point. It's just not how the college football playoff works at this moment in time. Like, it's just not how it works.
No. So let me just explain that because obviously our viewers have no idea what we're talking about since we basically just discussed that.
Yes,
in
Kyle,
our
please
chat.
mansplain that to us.
Yeah.
I would love to mansplain, Steve.
And everybody just understand Kyle's opinions are just wrong. Okay.
Happens with most mansplains.
No, Kyle, go ahead.
But anyway, so basically, I was saying I don't agree. So I know this is how the college playoff works. I just don't agree with their thought process. To me, a championship appearance is more valuable than not appearing at all. And I understand their thought process. Ohio State did play tougher teams. They lost to obviously the second best team in the country right now. They lost to the reigning Big Ten champions. I understand the college football's thought process. But the way I'm looking at it is an appearance in a championship game doesn't matter what it is unless it's, I don't know, I don't count the American. If you lose the American conference, that doesn't matter. You don't get a shot. I don't even know who was. Who Tulane even beat?
UTSA, I think.
Cincinnati? Oh no, that's right. No,
UTSA, right?
no. They played USF, right?
Oh yeah, you might be right.
Yes, USF. That's what it was. Anyway, so yeah, USF doesn't count with this. But I'm still like, of the Power Five, an appearance in the Power Five championship games, especially if you're undefeated coming into that game,
But they weren't.
I think carries. No, they weren't. I know they weren't. But I'm just saying, like, the only person they lost to though was Utah, right?
Yeah, but they lost twice and got blown out by 20. It's okay. I'll have a rebut when you're done talking. Go ahead.
No, they had
Go ahead.
three,
I'm
They
sorry.
had 3 losses.
No, they have
Also,
2. It's
I don't
just
know if you
Utah.
can hear
No, it's just
audience.
Utah twice.
USC has 3.
No, it's just Utah twice.
Looking this up. I'm looking it up.
It's got 3. I can
While
guarantee
Nick's
you.
looking that up, Kyle, I can't
Well,
help
Nick's
but
looking
hear.
up. Kyle, go ahead. Sorry. Oh, sorry, Steven.
No, Steve. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying, as you're talking about this, I just can't help but hear Molly just running around in the background. I can hear her just dunk, 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 dunk.
Not
Oh,
that loud,
puppy.
not that loud.
She's doing nuts. She's
What?
nuts. But it's okay.
No, they do. They have 2.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes.
I thought they only had one.
Who are we looking at?
It's USC. They're
USC.
11 and
So they
2.
have 2 losses.
USC is 11-2. Both losses likely to.
They were both
Yeah,
Utah.
definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just the way I'm looking. The way I think it should be. An appearance in a championship game to me carries more weight than not appearing at all. And I understand that's not how the college playoff works. I just don't agree with their thought process. So to me, I still think USC should have been in it. To me, they had a very successful season. They lost to the same team twice, who is good. But to me, they also beat how many ranked opponents throughout the season? 4, right?
Enough.
4 ranked opponents.
Enough where they should be 5. Yeah. Kyle, I'll make 1 point for you. I'll make 2 points for Jake goes on his points. So yes, I do agree. USC should have had a shot at it. They did indeed have a shot at it. So it is very hard in professional sports, even college, to beat the same team twice, especially beat them more than twice. So USC losing to Utah earlier in the season, fine, whatever. They were still number 4 in the rankings. The fact that USC lost to Utah again tells me that Utah, especially by 23 points I'm looking at right now, tells me Utah was the better team. Utah was not and should have not been in the conversation for top 4. So if Utah is a better team than USC, I think they got the rankings right, which is 7-8 for Utah and USC because Utah beat them twice. It is so hard to beat a good team twice in the same season, especially with the second game being essentially a blowout. So for that reason, USC should have dropped from 4, and OSU with the next best resume, which is what they are built off of. They're built off a resume, and only losing to the number 2 team in the nation, who could very well have taken number 1, realistically. If Georgia wasn't undefeated, Michigan was number 1. That's what we were looking at there. So that's the only reason why they overtook him, truthfully. USC losing to the same team twice, regardless of their ranked team, it wasn't Georgia, shows me that Utah was a better team, and Utah wasn't going to be in the playoffs. So that's my point. I have some other points, but I'll let Jake go first before I get into that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, honestly, I think it's the way the Pac-12 championship versus the way the Big Ten championship works, too, with the Big Ten being in divisions and the Pac-12 only going with the best 2 teams. I think you're going to see a switch to the best 2 teams for every conference probably in the near future.
I think that's how it should be.
I mean, the SEC might not have to because at the top of their divisions are 2 top 10 teams every year anyway, but that would be it. No, honestly, I think the committee got it right. I really do. My prediction for the Georgia-Ohio State game, I think Georgia's probably going to beat them by 2 touchdowns. Ohio State could keep it close, but without Jackson Smith and Jigba playing. And the fact of the matter is that Ohio State struggles to run the ball against good teams. They struggled all year to run the ball. They've been really a pass-first team. And most of the time it's downfield passing. I just don't think that's going to work against Georgia. I could be wrong. I mean, it could be one of those games where there's a nice upset. I would love it. To the Michigan-TCU game, I think it's a lot closer because I think TCU plays the game the right way. They play really good defense. They run the ball well. Max Duggan normally is very cool, calm, and collected. I think in the championship game you saw when he was under pressure, especially up the middle, like any quarterback, it got a little bit erratic. But at the end of the day, Max Duggan did do what he needed to do to win the game. Kansas State just won the game. I personally, as a Michigan fan, without Blake Corum, am a little bit worried because of the way that TCU plays the game the right way. I could see that game going either way. I'm gonna pick Michigan, and then you have a Georgia-Michigan national championship. And if I pick against Georgia here, I feel like I'm gonna be crucified. But I think Michigan gives them a hell of a game. Probably a one possession game. I'm gonna go with Georgia. I would love to hear everybody else's thoughts on that. Nick, why don't you go? Because I know you have some thoughts.
Yeah, so I actually want to talk about that Ohio State Georgia. So I actually think the opposite of you. I think that Georgia got the worst possible matchup that they could have gotten of the top 4.
Okay.
I think that Ohio State matches them up the best. I know they have some injuries, key injuries. However, I do think that Ohio State is the worst matchup for a team like Georgia, because I know that Georgia is a team that has before won out, has not lost a game in a season. However, Ohio State just lost to Michigan. When you lose in a season, you usually have a little bit more of that grit, a little bit more of that reason to play just that much harder. And I think that losing for Ohio State actually is the reason why they have a chance to win the whole thing. Do I think they will? Probably not. However, I think that because of that, they have a better chance. I think that Michigan has the easier matchup of TCU. I'm not discrediting TCU. I'm giving that much more credit to Michigan. The fact they played Ohio State so well, they get the opposite impact. I think that they're going to beat TCU by, I think it's going to be pretty bad. I think it's going to be like 48-27. Like, I think it's going to be a pretty gruesome game for TCU. And honestly, it's only because Max Duggan is literally what feels like the player on that team, and he just got his shit rung.
He's got a month.
For not just 60 minutes. Not just 60 minutes. He got shit wrong for like 75 minutes. Like, do you know how much like pain he must be in? Like,
he's got a month.
Yeah, he's got a month to think about how much pain he was in. Now he's going against even better defense to run his shit. He's got a month to think about it. So, I'm definitely taking Michigan. I think Ohio State has upset potential versus Georgia, so I am going to pick them. However, I don't think that they are likely to win. Like, I would take them as the definite underdogs, but I think it's fun. I'm slightly a fan of Ohio State. So I'm going to pick Ohio State, knowing very well they could lose, because I do think they have the worst matchup. I think any other team, I think Georgia beats Michigan. I think Georgia beats TCU. I think Ohio State's tough. Ohio State-Michigan championship would also be some of the most fun
That would
you
be
could ever
awesome.
ask for.
I would love my life. That would be
It
so
would
cool.
be for the
I would
culture.
hate that. I would hate that.
It would be, but it would be a total for the culture game, Kyle. It would
Yeah,
be,
Yes, it would.
That would
agree
be
with
the
you. I
ultimate
agree.
college football game.
It would.
But I
And
would
I
hate
think it would be one of the best games ever because Ohio, like I said before, a team is hard to lose twice to the same team because you know what to do next time. And you can bring new stuff that throws them off, and they're going to run the same formula because it worked the first time. So it's hard to lose to a team twice. So I think it would be a fantastic game. For that reason, again, I'm a Ohio State fan. I actually do think they would win that game against Michigan if it went to the championship. Not discrediting Michigan at all. I think Ohio State would have learned. So I would take Ohio State to win it. Definitely a little bit of bias, but I think it's fun. I will give it to Austin, and we'll go Kyle. No problem.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to say. First off, I got to shout out a kid that I grew up with that is a star at Michigan right now. Luke Schoonmaker, tight end. Let's go, boy. Represent. Come on. So I'm hoping for a big baller effort from him. He had a touchdown in the championship game, so let's go. But moving on, I think TCU definitely, I think they can match up. The problem with right now is, can they not fall behind to them early? If they fall behind early, Max Duggan's going to have to do what he's been doing, but I don't think you can come back on Michigan like that. So they need to play a good, solid first half that's clean. And with them having those, 4 or 5 come from behind wins, that's great, but you can't do that forever. And at the end of the year, they've been struggling to really get out and close teams out early, even when they were maybe inferior to them. So I think that's going to be a struggle against Michigan, especially. Blake, is Corum hurt? Is that what you said, Jake?
Yeah, Blake Corum's out. He just had knee surgery? I don't know. I don't think he's
Oh,
going to be
geez.
back.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, without him, I mean, they still have some guys behind him, but it's definitely going to be a little bit harder without him. But the passing game should still be good. I think Michigan's just defense, stuff like that, is going to be able to hold him down a little bit, enough where maybe they can get ahead in the first half to make him have to grind out a win. I think Michigan and TCU is closer than we think, but we'll see. I think the Big 12 was pretty good this year. So I'll take Michigan there in a closer battle. Ohio State and Georgia, I'm just not sure. I know Georgia beat Tennessee handedly, and the SEC is better. I think the SEC this year was top heavy. I mean, so was the Big Ten to an extent. So I don't really know exactly who Georgia is because they didn't have to face. Wasn't that they went through a gauntlet? You're like, yeah, they just destroyed everything. They did, but like it's not the same as they have in past years, where it's like, okay, all these teams are supposed to be really ranked really high, and they just steamrolled them, like last year. But Ohio State just, I don't know. It doesn't make me feel super confident in them. I honestly won't be surprised if Ohio State gets steamrolled by Georgia, and they just might be the same. They just might be that good again. I think we end up with a Georgia-Michigan game, to be honest. And then I think if maybe Corum could be back for that game or something like that, because that'll be, 2 months out from now?
No, it would be a week after the semis.
Oh,
they play they played like January 8th last year or something like that. January 9th,
so
maybe.
then he's probably still not there. Without Corum against Georgia,
That's a tough game. That's a tough game.
Yeah, I don't think they have the shot at it, to be honest. Unless we see something from their backup running backs, but I don't see that happening. And they have good receivers, but they don't have like that. Like, they don't have a Devonta Smith. They don't have somebody like that to just go win you for them. I love that kid that I grew up with. I think he is really good. He's a really good tight end. But he's not a freak athlete like Kyle Pitts was. So he's a good, solid tight end, but he's not like gonna go out and just I don't think dominate. I could be. He's got solid hands, so he's a steady. He's like a T.J. Hawkinson, in my opinion. Just steady, good receiver.
That's a good comp for your boy there, Austin. That's a good comp.
Oh yeah. No, he is good. So go look up some of the film on him. You like him. Yeah. So I think we're looking at as much as I hate to say, I think we're looking at another Georgia championship. I'd rather it be TCU. I'm going to be rooting for TCU as much as but I'm probably going to be rooting for TCU. So, but yeah.
I'm just kind of rooting for, at some point, for Michigan to make it to the championship and lose, because I just want to see Dave Portnoy lose his mind, because it's always so funny when that happens. But I'm a fan of the Harbaugh, so I don't know. I like in Michigan. It definitely feels like it's their year, but I mean, who knows? I mean, I feel good for Michigan, also for Tom Brady as well, but maybe just suit him up for that championship game.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
Wait,
my gosh.
That's his final chapter. Back in
That's actually kind of sick. That's actually pretty sick.
Fifth year bomb tradie, fifth year senior. Let's go.
It's his COVID year.
It's his COVID year.
Kyle, what do you think?
It's so tough because as someone who's been a Georgia football fan for many, many years,
here we go.
My best friend's made fun of me for, I don't know, the past decade that we've known each other, because he's a Bama fan and I'm a Georgia fan, and I've watched Bama win year after year after year, and I'm just disappointed at the SEC every single year. And I finally get to be proud of this team, and I don't even want them to win this year. That's what's so sad. For the
Bro's
first
pulling for
time,
TCU.
Wow.
You already know.
There's something special about watching TCU this year that, as fun as they are, they're going to get absolutely smacked by Michigan, and I really think
I don't know, they're going to get smacked.
Okay, listen. They should have...
Is this the first time that Nick Kyle and Nick have been on the same page about something?
Yes.
No,
No.
definitely
No,
not the
that's
first
not
time.
true.
Maybe a second or third.
There definitely is. I'll be like, guys, what's your favorite flavor ice cream? And they'll have the same flavor, and then Nick be like, no, actually a different one. It's strawberry flavored.
I do have to disagree with Kyle sometimes because I don't want him to die though with strawberries. I might choose cherry. Though.
Thank you.
Anyway,
But
Sorry, Kyle.
anyways, yeah. No, all good. I'm just so like TCU has something very special going on, but just when you look at who they played, I don't think they faced enough adversity to prepare them for what what Harbaugh is gonna put up against them in that game. Like Michigan is gonna come at them. They don't even need to put all 100% at them. They need to put 80% towards TCU, and they can win by 30. And that's just because I don't think TCU is built the same way that Michigan is, that Ohio State is, that Georgia is, that even Bama is. TCU is built to play in the Big 12. They are built to play Kansas State. They're built to play Oklahoma. They're built to play Texas. But they are not built as a roster to play Michigan. They're not built to play Georgia. They're just not prepared for that. Their chance to win the Big 12 was this year. They lost to Kansas State. It was a great run. I'm happy for them. I'm happy the College Football Playoff Committee gave them the chance to show themselves. I'm very excited to see what the spread will be.
I know why you're excited.
But I think it will be Michigan. I think it will be Michigan.
I'll agree with you, Kyle.
Yes.
If it's not Ohio State, go Horned Frogs. Let's go. Go Horned Frogs.
Hey, Horned Frog Country, let's hop.
Yo, if it's
Let's
not
hop.
Michigan, roll frogs, baby.
Oh my God.
If it's not,
You know,
if it's not the
Russell Wilson would be
Wolverines,
nicer if he
roll
just
horn
said,
frogs,
"Let's hop."
baby.
That would be funnier. Okay.
I'm rooting for a Georgia TCU matchup for TCU to win. I just don't think it's going to happen. So realistically, I think the Ohio State Georgia matchup will be a lot closer than the Georgia. Are you just laughing at Molly? Just
Yeah.
going,
Yeah, definitely.
Kyle, you
yes.
are happy. You're excited to see what the spread is because you're hoping it's 20-point spread. That's what you're hoping. You want a 20-point
Nick.
spread.
I do want a 20-point spread.
Nick.
I mean, I'm with you. I hope it is too because I'm betting that.
Yes.
Absolutely. At 20 point, the way TCU has played this year, you can't not take a 20-point spread because TCU could easily cover.
You
it.
have
That's
to take
besides the
20
point.
Nick, do you mind if I respond to something Kyle said real quick?
Please do, and then we're gonna move on to the next piece.
All right. So, Kyle, I understand your point about the Big 12. I will say that I've seen more defense and traditional football out of the Big 12 like you see out of the SEC and the Big 10 this year. I mean, I can point to that TCU Kansas State game. There was a lot of really good defense played. The offenses look good. And in the years past, the Big 12 has been 70 to 63 games like we used to see with Oklahoma and Texas Tech and all those other teams that, put up big numbers but never played defense. So I will say that the Big 12 is catching up defensively. I think they started to correct the mistake they made where the Big 12 tried to become the high-flying conference and it didn't work. But that's really the only thing I had to say to that. I loved everybody's analysis there. Good job, guys. And, if Michigan goes down, roll frogs.
Really quick, Nick, before we move on, I do agree with your rebuttal of me, Jake, that Big 12 is definitely catching up. And I'm excited how it will be in a couple years when Cincinnati joins it and UCF joins it. I'm very excited to see how the Big 12 will compete.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So we're gonna talk briefly about the next thing. I don't know how much we're gonna talk about it, but more so just gonna very briefly comment on it. Deion Sanders officially commits as the head coach of the Colorado
Buffaloes.
I should have fucking known. Anyway, I should have known. Anyways, I know their logo. I know it looks dope, and I know that they're already a decent D1 team. Occasionally touches the top 25. Occasionally backs out of the top 25. If anyone didn't know any better, they'll be top 25 in a year, maybe two. It's kind of like a USC thing, except the program is not USC, where they have a S-tier coach and then a bunch of S-tier players go to a school, and you think, they'll be good in a year or two. And USC comes out and is a top 10 team this year. So almost makes it to the college football playoff. Only difference is Colorado. Who the hell cares about Colorado football? Well, now a lot of people. So I do think they'll be good this year or next year. I think that Deion Sanders being the coach is already going to make a big difference. Players like playing for players and great head coaches. That is a big reason why Mike Vrabel is so good. So
Here's the thing. I see this as, I don't know, I'm kind of like in Deion Sanders, carnage tour, that I can honestly see him coming into the NFL as a coach in the next 5 to 10 years and just causing all sorts of mayhem, and I'm here for it.
I don't think he wants to, Steve, at least right now. I think that he
Definitely
loves-
not now. I think in the future, in time, I think he might want to bring himself back to the NFL, but he really is a coach. I mean, I've seen some of his practices and some of the speeches, post game speeches he's made and stuff. This really is a coach you would go into battle for, honestly. No, this man he inspires very similar to, I think, Ray Lewis, where not only are they incredible defensive players, they have a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge, but they're almost like a preacher of football, where they make this whole game seem larger than life so that you're so much more inspired with every single time you step on the field. So definitely, I mean, if I was going to play in a game where a bunch of 400-pound men are going to flatten me like a pancake, and I had Deion Sanders talk to me about this, give me a hype speech, you bet your butt I'm putting on that uniform, going out there and dying on the field. Now, I think Deion Sanders really has become such an amazing coach, and I love seeing him in this environment because he really has become such a swag-like player, where he definitely seemed very arrogant and kind of cocky. What was it? He came out like a music video or some crap like that. Like, it was all this crazy stuff he did when he was an NFL player. But now that he's a leader, it's awesome to see him kind of come full circle.
Yes.
And honestly, I mean, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I was just gonna add a few key points, and then we kind of jump off. Obviously, and you can add some more stuff. But
No,
go ahead.
honestly, I think Kyle and I are on the same point about this. We were going back and forth on Twitter earlier. The biggest thing about Deion Sanders to Colorado is Colorado used to be an NFL pipeline where they had good players year in and year out. For the past decade, they've kind of sucked, and nobody knew why. Here is the biggest thing with Deion Sanders moving to Colorado. He's bringing his son with him, who's an NFL prospect at quarterback. He recruited Travis Hunter, who was the #1 corner in the nation a couple years ago, to an
Wide
HBCU.
receiver and wide receiver. Let's
Yeah,
be
but he plays
respectful of
but he
the
plays
boy.
corner. He plays corner now.
And he's also a gross wide receiver.
That's a
and when he's
fact.
played in college, he had over 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns in one game this year, and played corner the whole game.
That's
The
nuts.
Dude's literally a
Nuts.
freak.
But you got Travis Hunter already said he's transferring to Colorado, and it just seems like every time I see somebody go into the transfer portal, I'm like, they're going to play with Deion. Like Justin Flo from Oregon, the linebacker, the athletic freak of nature that he is, entered the transfer portal, can almost guarantee he's going to play for Deion. And that's the thing that I think Deion brings to Colorado, is that they're not going to just be recruiting 3-stars anymore. They're going to be recruiting those 5-star players who want a pipeline to the NFL because Deion can get them there. And that's the biggest
the
point.
name.
It's the name of Deion Sanders.
And there's 5 from Jackson. So Jackson State, for all those who don't know, was a subpar FBS school, if I'm correct, who recruited Deion Sanders to be their coach, and he, in literally 1 year, brought them from the subpar FBS school to, I think they won the national championship last year, or they lost in the championship game.
Yeah.
They were gross, and he had multiple 5-star recruits to an FB as in boy S school. He is now transferring multiple of those recruits. Go ahead, Jake.
So the FBS is like Ohio State and all of them. So that's Division
FCS.
1. FCS is like North Dakota State's. I think it's FBS 1AA, so it's like the Harvard
Yeah.
Ivy Leagues with the HBCUs in
Okay.
it. So it's it's the level
I
down
apologize.
from the FBS.
Excuse me. But yes, so he brought 5 recruits with him. The 2 that Jake already mentioned, which is his son, Shadir Sanders, and Travis Hunter.
Dope.
Again, Travis Hunter was the #1 recruit. #1 recruit went to you can look at it however you want, a 2nd-tier college, by the way, to be with this man. Already entered the transfer portal. 3 more players. Kevin Coleman Jr., who is a gross wide receiver. Niles Gaddy, I don't know a lot about him, and Sevion Wilkerson, who is their star running back, who helped them win the championship last year. He is bringing people with him, and there's going to be a lot of people that want to be with Deion because those players want to play for him.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it goes. He's got a team that sucked this year, 1-11. So I can't wait to see what it is. Before we move on, anybody can touch after this. I want to highlight UConn football because that's a very underwritten story, obviously, and I understand why. It's not like it's a big program or anything like that. That team was literally on the brink of going to like Division II, at least into literal obscurity out of Division One. And they brought in Jim Mora, who was the coach at UCLA at the beginning of this or last decade. Got fired in 2017. Who was also the coach of the Seattle Seahawks in 2009 and other teams. This man came back to resurrect his career and hopefully resurrect UConn football, and they are in a bowl game this year. So I just want to say there was no ESPN thought they were going to go with no wins this year, and so many people did. And I just want to say he did an amazing job of taking these nobody wanted these recruits that he brought in, and they're 6-6 going to a bowl game. And that sounds like a terrible season, but for this team who hadn't won more than maybe a game in like 4 years, gotta applaud them. So for all our UConn fans out there and anybody that knows college football, you know what this guy did this year.
And they're going against Marshall. That'll be interesting. We'll see how that goes. There's no name for the bowl. It just says Bowls. Is it the Bowls Bowl?
Yeah.
I have no idea, dude. No idea.
It's Tito's Bowls Bowl. And it's like a little bowl. That would be funny.
It's Minute Bowls Bowl.
Bowl.
That's
Bowl.
Anyways,
Bowl.
we're going to move on to the next subject a little bit. Austin, do you want to touch briefly on some college basketball?
Oh, let's go.
We're
go.
mid-season.
College basketball.
They still have,
We-
what, 4
We
months?
we are just a little over a quarter of the way, and we are 4 months
3 months
from.
from March.
Well, by the time they do it, because it's at the end of March, it's literally the last week. So we're basically
middle.
4 months.
Selection Sunday is March 16th.
Yeah, but a lot of the tournament takes place by the end of the
Point being, we're going to have a March
Either
Madness
way,
this
we
year.
are 3 to 4 months away. Okay, Kyle, we're 3 to 4 months out. Okay, it's
I need a specific time frame. I need the exact hour we have left, Austin. Give me an
You know
hour's
what?
update.
2 hours.
Kyle, that's a lot of ass.
Shut up. Anyways,
Yeah, March Madness in 15 minutes. Oh my God.
what? I wish.
Ah.
That would
Guys,
be amazing.
this is our NCAA. And why did I just say that twice? Anyways, countdown, March Madness, bracketology. Anyways, let's get moving with this. We are just a little over the way done. Most teams have played about 10 games now. So we're looking at just about a quarter to a little over the quarter way through. By the end of this week, we will be. UConn is 9-0 and up to 5th in the country. So I got to rep my boys. But I'll just go out for the top 5 because they're the ones that are some big names coming through. We got Houston at undefeated 8-0. They're number 1. Texas is number 2 in the country. I know that was a surprise for Jake. Are you a huge Texas fan?
So I love Texas football. I have since Vince Young was there, and UT is a school. My friend went there, so I try to follow as much sports as I can.
Okay.
And I know that Texas hasn't really been good since Kevin Durant was there, so it's nice to see him up at number 2.
Yeah, they haven't been this kind of a powerhouse for a while, so it is good to get them up there. UVA is back up in the top 5. They're at 7-0, and Purdue is a huge riser. They climbed like 12 spots last week. They weren't even ranked, I don't think, coming into this season. They have a 7-footer that is absolutely dominating everybody. They beat Gonzaga. They beat I think it was Arizona and a couple other of the top teams coming into the season, all within the last week and a half, really. So they are just cruising as of now. I don't believe they have lost yet. Texas, by the way, right now is in a battle with 17 Illinois. So we'll see
And they're
how that
losing.
goes. They are. It's only 34-32. That's why I said battle. But yes. So that
It's a good
is
game, by the way.
the top 5. Then you have Kansas, last year's championship winner, at 8-1. Tennessee is at 7-1 at number 7. Alabama 7-1 at 8. UConn beat them. Arizona and Arkansas round out the 9 and 10 spots, also at 7-1. So a lot of movement. Gonzaga does not look like a good team. Well, not a great team. Not the team that we've expected of Gonzaga. They are 5-3 and have had some bad losses. And North Carolina, the preseason number 1. Looks god awful. They're just trash right now.
Terrible.
I mean, you
So,
lose Chet Holmgren at Gonzaga. You're not expecting to be great at it after that.
Yeah, Gonzaga should have, but Gonzaga brought in some people. They should have been okay. They also have Drew Timme still, so yes, they're not going to be as good as they were with Chet Holmgren, but they still should
I
have been
don't want to
okay.
interrupt you. I do
But-
have some breaking news in the NHL.
What's the breaking news? Let's see it.
I just saw that too.
Avalanche.
Nathan McKinnon is out for 4 weeks with an upper body injury.
Ouch.
I think is what I read.
Ooh.
Upper body injury, approximately 4 weeks. So top 3 NHL player in the league is out for 4 weeks. That is tough.
That's
Go
right.
ahead, Austin.
No, I mean we're basically pretty much done with that. Just some big movement happened early on. UConn, Purdue were both teams that weren't ranked at the beginning of the season. They're already up to the top 5 and they're undefeated, looking like really, really solid teams. UConn, this looks like one of the best teams they've had since
Kemba?
probably the Kemba Walker year. Yeah, which they had some rough patches. They went just like this team. They went like 10. I think it was 10-0 and got to like number. I don't remember if they got to number 1. They got top 5 for sure. And then they went on a bad slide to the point where they were unranked going into their Big East play. This team honestly looks even better than that team probably. I'm talking like maybe back to like the early Coach Calhoun years where he had Ray Allen and other guys like that. Some of those big name teams. This team has a 7-footer from Connecticut, Donovan Clingan, who looks like a solid freshman. I mean, he's playing phenomenal. They have Adama Sanogo, who those our basketball friends will probably know who that is. And Jordan Hawkins is a great guard who's shooting phenomenally. So, yeah, they look like a really well-balanced team. They're leading the league. I believe they're leading the nation in per game, stuff like that. Not leading, but I believe they're at the top. So, anyways, it's a great UConn team, great Purdue team. Houston, Texas, and UVA are looking good, although Houston did just have their top guard, Marcus Sasser, and probably their top player go down with an injury, but they're the guys who stepped up. So it's not like a serious injury, but he might be out for a couple games or there. So we'll see how they do. Yeah, that's about it for now for the college basketball update.
I think it's
Nice.
important to know. I pretty much always take Houston to win the championship because I always feel like, wow, this team's always there. So it's no different this year, just so we're on the same page. I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna take. You can check my brackets. I've pretty much taken Houston or Villanova to win the last 5 years. And by the way, I did not take Villanova 2 years ago. So
Oh
fuck.
wow. No.
Anyways, I took Houston 2 years ago.
Villanova
man.
looks terrible.
It's
by
gonna
the
be
way.
it's gonna be real tough for me to choose between Texas, UVA, and UConn when it comes time because I have ties to all 3 of those places and I love all 3 of their basketball programs. So it's gonna be real tough for me.
It'll be interesting. So that'll be coming up over the next few months. We'll be keeping updates on the basketball world of March Madness coming up in March. So we might even we're gonna do a bracket show. I
Yep.
think again. I think that was
Yeah,
really
definitely.
That was so much fun.
Enjoyed
We
that.
had to.
Mhm.
That was so much fun.
Longwood better be on this bracket.
Wait,
I
I thought it was
swear.
hardwood.
Steve, I have a better college name that is actually looking pretty good.
Yeah.
College of Oral Roberts is
Do you
doing
not know
fantastic.
what Oral
this year.
Roberts University is?
I
Oh
know who they
my-
are.
Do you not know?
But- I know who
They were there
Oral
last
Roberts is. They were they in the tournament?
Yes.
Pretty sure.
They were not, because
It's-
Steve would have made a comment.
It's the only,
Oh,
Yes.
it's the
was it
only
before? Was it
sport
before?
they're
It
even
was 2 years
legitimately
ago.
decent
Okay.
at.
Wow. All right, sweet. So I got 2 teams I get to root for now.
My fiance went to undergrad at Oral Roberts. That's hilarious.
Oh
I
my
wonder if
god.
That's all.
Well,
That's
I
so
know
funny.
Steve's gonna be rooting for versus Long.
Yes. If they play against each other, I'm not gonna be able to think.
All I know
for a
is
week.
that Oral Roberts is gonna actually suck against Longwood. Like it's gonna be really tough.
Yeah.
Oh my!
We're awful. We're awful.
Canceled.
Anyways,
Canceled.
our last thing that we're going to talk about today, I think that it's going to take a whole episode. So I think that we're going to preview it a little bit or talk just a little bit about it. I think
Oh,
Nick
boy.
is going to come with the full thing. So
I think we can do the whole thing. I personally think.
If we keep
I
it
am telling
respectful,
you-
this can last 20 to 30 minutes max.
yeah.
Yes.
okay, I'm going to get
If
Anyways.
you want, it's up to you, Nick.
I'm going to keep my part short then and hope you all do similar. We started this debate as I'm dying.
Kyle helped
started-
start this debate.
Yeah, we started this debate. I guess
I
Kyle did.
kept
We
it
didn't
civil.
start a debate.
I
You
kept
just
it
put it
civil.
out there.
I didn't blame you.
We've already talked
I said
about
you
this a little
started
bit.
it.
There was a picture with 6 athletes, all males, unfortunately, not including Serena Williams, and others. Who of the tops of those athletes, which ones were the top of this century? So from 2000 on. And it started a debate in our group chat, as you can imagine. They were all from different sports. They all had different impacts and different pieces. Those 6 athletes, I'm gonna pull it up real quick. I can remember most of them, but I just want to make sure I have them in front of
It
me.
was Brady,
Look.
LeBron, Mayfield,
just-
Ronaldo, Phelps, and Tiger Woods.
You said Mayfield instead of Merriweather, but I got you.
Sorry,
Yeah, I know-
Merriweather,
yeah.
my bad.
Yo, yeah, Baker Mayfield's on the
Baker
list.
Mayfield,
Yo,
man,
he's
he's
so
Not
dominant,
Baker,
bro.
my bad. I meant Merriweather. It was my bad.
So,
He was a pretty dominated college athlete.
He was pretty damn good.
Tim Tebow is
so
the best
dominant
college
in,
football player of all time.
okay.
Yes.
Anyways, right behind Johnny Manziel. So, looking at this list, we pretty much all agreed that LeBron was number 6. Fine and dandy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that now thinking about it, but yeah, he wasn't in the top 3.
Wait, can you
And
pull
I-
up the list? Can you pull it up by any chance?
Yeah, 1 second.
Can I just say that it's funny that LeBron's on there when he's still having huge debates about he's even the best in his sport?
Bro, no,
Yeah,
dude's been
he-
the best
Well,
basketball
this-
player
this-
this century. It's not even close. Steph
Oh.
didn't
Yes,
come in
I
until the
agree.
later half,
That's
and
fair,
Kobe
that's
was there
fair.
before. LeBron's been there the entire time.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. That's fair.
And he
I'm
went to
gonna say-
nine, and he went to
Quickly-
9 straight NBA Finals. Can't really
Speaking
discredit
of
it at this
Mayfield,
point.
while I pull this up, anyone want to talk briefly about Baker Mayfield going to the
I got it.
Rams?
Oh, his
Yeah.
career, his career is
Go ahead,
over
Steve.
at this point. He's just
He
going to be
needed
a
to go behind Brady if he was going to have any
Well-
chance of reviving it.
Well, honestly, Baker Mayfield got cut by the Panthers. It was amicable. Apparently, Baker's
It
done
was
everything
his
they
choice,
asked.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was his choice. He asked. The Panthers thanked him for his time with the Panthers, said he was always a great teammate, whatever it was. He got picked up by the Rams. He'll start for the Rams, even though it doesn't matter because they're not making the playoffs anyway. I think they're 3-8 right now. Sean McVay really needs to pick it up, but how can you do that when you got Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford out? But whatever. That's all we really got to say about that.
Thank you. So, I have it up, obviously, for these are the 6 athletes. Again, Serena Williams should be on this list, and she would be in the top 3 in my mind, and a lot of people...
That's a fact.
She'd be
Should
up
be
there.
top 2. Top 2 in my mind.
Yes, I was just
Yeah.
making a general...
No, I'm just saying. I got you.
Serena Williams should be in this list, no doubt.
Yep.
However, they chose 6 male athletes, no matter how sexist this page is.
Mhm.
So, we're not going to comment on that any further. So, between these 6 athletes, and I kind of want to talk about more why we're debating, and then I want us to come next week with our own top 10 rankings. That's what I think we should do.
Okay.
That's
let's
fair.
talk- Let's talk a little bit about this. So, one of the big pieces, I would love for whoever, I know, Kyle, you can start with this, was the difference between those who are in team sports and those who are in single, one person versus however many people, whether it be one person or group, sports. Kyle, what is that? How do you feel about that?
So the way I'm looking at it is if you are an individual athlete where you do not rely on the other people's ability on the field, the court, whatever it may be, you don't rely on anyone else around you, and you can dominate at your individual sport. For Tiger, it's golf. For Serena, it's tennis. For Michael Phelps, it's swimming. For Mayweather, it's boxing. Right? Whatever it may be, if you can dominate that and you do not need to rely on anyone else around you, I personally looked at that as being a higher level than necessarily a team athlete. And that's what sparked debate, and which I understand, because I understand how some people can look at that and go, well, if you're dominating as a team athlete, doesn't that show better characteristics and whatnot? Which I understand, and I know Jake was on the other side of that argument.
to
I'm
it
sure
in a
he
minute.
can take it from there. But that's basically what sparked debate in our group chat, and it went on a whole big tangent and got way out of hand than it definitely needed to. But I was basically arguing where I would say I don't personally think Ronaldo should be top 5 of this list. I put him at 5th. Because the way I looked at it is I ranked the individual athletes. So I did Phelps, Mayweather, Tiger, and then I ranked the team athletes, where I put Brady, Ronaldo, LeBron. That's how I looked at it. If we wanted to put it at different, that's just how I looked at it, and I know everyone else has their own viewpoint of it.
Yeah, so I don't think I did a very good job of articulating what I was trying to get at earlier. Somebody started talking about how you can't compare team sports and individual sports, which I think you can. I look at it more as unprecedented success in whatever you're doing. So automatically for me, that puts Brady and Phelps at the top of the list, right? So Brady, 7 Super Bowls, hasn't been done by a starting quarterback in the NFL ever, probably will never be duplicated again. Michael Phelps has more gold medals than anybody else in the history of the Olympics, I believe. Never mind just swimming, but the history of the
Which
Olympics.
is ridiculous.
And both of those are the top of the world. So like the NFL is the best football league in the world. So and there's no football Olympics. So I have to put the NFL on par with the Olympics there if I'm going to compare like apples to apples. And Phelps is up there. Mayweather, the 50-0 has been done before. It's been done a few times. Those guys didn't end their careers undefeated, but Mayweather did. Mayweather. Sorry, I'm getting so confused. As a boxing fan, I should know this. But Mayweather's done. Like Mayweather won 50-0. It's been done before. I don't think anybody else ended their career undefeated. I could be wrong about that, but like 50-0 has been done before. LeBron, I think would be up there. Again, a lot of what he has done has been done before, except for the 10 straight titles. I mean, Bill Russell, I think, did it. Or 10 straight title appearances. I think Bill Russell did it. A couple others did it. Ronaldo may
Bill
not even...
actually won 10 straight.
Ronaldo might not even be the best soccer player of this century. Messi's right up there with him. Sorry, not sorry. So, like, I think Ronaldo is up there for me, but there's an argument. Tiger Woods is right up there with Jack Nicklaus, and so I'm not sure how I'd rank these 6. I think it's Brady and Phelps as like a 1A, 1B kind of thing. So regardless of team sport or individual sport, again, I put team sports probably a little bit higher because I think it's a little bit harder to dominate for that long. Plus longevity comes into account where Tom Brady has done this for 20 some odd years in a very physically demanding sport. Up until like the last 5 years where you couldn't hit a quarterback. But that being said, like Phelps, swimming, Olympic, absolutely impressive, absolutely the goat of swimming. And honestly, I'd probably put Serena Williams right there at 3 as a 1C. But that's where I was coming from with it, more unprecedented success than it was the characteristics of people. I don't know if anybody else has anything to take about that, but
I mean also with like why I think it's kind of tough with Phelps and Brady. One, I mean, when I think of any of these players, you also have to look at the competition that they have and how they were able to win. So Floyd Mayweather definitely was not a knockout puncher. He was not going to beat the crap out of you. He was going to outlast you, which is very impressive, but 50-0 is still incredible. That is. But we're looking for dominant. And if your way of winning is lasting as long as you can, depending on what fight it is. And there's always some controversy with any athlete as well. But I got to give it to somebody like Brady because you also have to remember he was up against arguably the number 2 quarterback of all time in Peyton Manning going up against him. You also have to deal with another top 10 quarterback in Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and Phillip Rivers, who's not top 10, but he's in the top 25 for sure. Then you also had to deal with, surging quarterbacks here and there like Patrick Mahomes. And then you also got to, there's a lot of competition that Brady had to deal with. Now, with comparing the world stage to the NFL, it's still only specific to the U.S. And no matter what, Michael Phelps was going up against the best of every country. These are people from every country with their own resources, training their asses off to be the best that they can be. And I think with Michael Phelps being so insanely dominant for so long, basically being a human fish, I just got to give him the nod because being up against the United States is tough. You're getting the best every week. But I got to give it to Phelps as the most dominant of the century, only because he's going up against the world. No matter what, how you put it, even as incredible as NFL teams can be, going up against the world's best, just being able to do that, it's honestly very insane. And LeBron, I don't know. I would still put Michael Jordan for if no matter what, even though he didn't play in this century. I can't see LeBron being top in this list, but that's just me.
Steve, one thing you said about Mayweather. Sorry, Austin. I just had to.
Go ahead.
Boxing wise, Mayweather defensively was untouchable. It wasn't just that he was outlasting you; it's that you couldn't fucking touch him. Honestly, it's some of the most impressive defensive boxing you'll ever see. If you ever go watch a Mayweather fight, just pull up some old videos. Dude was absolutely unhittable. Didn't matter who it was. Manny Pacquiao, all these other dudes, Canelo. People tried to fight Mayweather and it just didn't work. And yeah, he had that McGregor fight, which kind of was a joke, but whatever. Austin, go ahead. That's all I really have to say about Mayweather.
Yeah, I gotta say, the only thing I have for a knock on Mayweather is just, and I'm not a huge boxing fan, but I believe this is how people perceive it. He's a defensive god when it comes to fighting and boxing. I know that he, the only thing I grew up with boxing when I was like not really watching boxing, but watching Rocky. So like that's my knowledge of like boxing. So I don't really count that. But when I think of him, I think of like Creed, like when Rocky fights him in the first movie, where he's like having trouble touching him just because of how he is. I always think of him as that way, where he's just like moving and he's so good. And when any fight I have watched him, that's what he's been like. My knock on him is the fact that he didn't fight in what I've been told is the golden era of boxing, where these guys were just monsters. The guys nowadays, not that they're not good, not that they're, I don't know. Again, I'm not a boxing fanatic.
Definitely not as
but
good.
People think
definitely not as good.
Right, they're not. It's not Muhammad Ali. It's not Mike Tyson in his prime. It's not some of these other guys. And I think if he fights some of those guys, maybe he's able to beat them. But because he didn't have the knockout power, I think those guys would have stayed with him and eventually gotten that punch on him.
You're also talking about different weight classes of boxing, which is a whole different issue. But
fair, that is fair. Yeah. That is fair. So there's a whole bunch of things. So that's why it's hard for me to put him, like you said, it's been done before. I don't see him as that like dominant. I want to see that guy. If you're that dominant guy, like Conor McGregor, when he was at his top, was just going in and annihilating people. That's what I would have wanted to see. So I don't put him. I'd put him. Boxing fans would probably come after me, but I'd probably put him towards the bottom 6'5", something like that. I grew up watching golf, right? I know golf. Even though Tiger Woods was chasing a guy like Jack Nicklaus, and it had been done before, what hadn't really necessarily been done was the way he dominated when he was at his peak in the early 2000s. You basically couldn't touch him. And the way he was just winning major after major and winning tournaments and just literally breaking records on courses, just outclassing everybody. It wasn't even close. So also for me, for Tiger, that puts him a little bit higher is the fact that he has had so many injuries and he's gone out and dominated after that. We'll see how he does with this latest one. I think he's kind of done. I don't know if he can ever win one again just with this new injury. So
I think he was.
I want one more. I think that does that tie him with Nicholas? What's he at? 15?
Yes,
I think it does. Yeah, I think it ties.
I think he gets one more just out of will. I really do.
If he does that, that puts him even higher for me. But as it goes to century, I'd put Mayweather for me goes 6. LeBron's probably 5 for me. And then I probably am putting
next week. We're gonna do our list next week.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So, anyways, I think that the top for me, it's hard. It's between the other 3 guys: Ronaldo, Brady, and Phelps. I lean a little bit towards Phelps as maybe the top guy because I know how freaking hard it is to swim in general at the top. I don't know if anybody here ever swam competitively. I didn't actually swim competitively, but I did actually race against some guys that did.
I did for 3 months.
It's ridiculous.
It's awful.
It is ridiculous how hard the training is. We know, most of us and most fans out there that played sports know how hard training in sports in general is. Then think about the fact you can't breathe, okay? So you were literally not allowed to breathe at certain points in your race. I ran track. If I had to do that during track, I would die. So these guys Phelps is out here literally swimming 400 yards. And if anybody goes and runs a 400-yard right now and try not breathing for 25% of that, let me know how you go. So this man dominated his sport for over a decade by himself.
Yep.
Past what most people would consider a peak in almost any, peak age at any time, any sport. So I would put him. It's hard for me not to put him at the top. We're talking about dominating on the Olympic level that people have been doing for. I mean, Olympics goes back. What?
1800s.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. 200 years or more. And obviously, if you really want to talk about Olympics, it goes all the way back to even earlier than that. But the ones that we're talking about, modern day Olympics, it's like 200 years. So for 200 years, nobody did what he did. I mean, yeah, Ronaldo's got a lot of accomplishments, and I know Andrew would want to fight for him. And I know why. I know some of his history. Yeah. But to say that my knock on, and I know Andrew didn't bring it up, maybe because he didn't want to, He hasn't won a World Cup. So if you put Messi in here, you put him in here. How are you going to tell me that this guy is one of the best athletes of his generation, of this century, when he hasn't done what he has to do to bring his country to the pinnacle of his sport? He hasn't done it. So it's hard for me to put him
To
at
be
that.
fair with that, though, Ronaldo has won a lot of championships.
Yes.
In general, just to be fair.
But to be
Yeah.
fair, also, he has stacked teams when he plays for Real Madrid, Juventus, some of these other ones. Not to knock him. And again, I don't like to knock players for having a good team, but I also have to point that out. You have a good team, it's easier to win, right? So when Brady wins a championship because he's got a better team, I knock him for it. And when he loses to the Giants with Randy Moss, I got to knock him for it. So, but with Phelps, he went out there, dominated, didn't lose, and not even. That's my other thing for Phelps, and I'll end with this. When he won his championship gold medals, he wasn't just winning; he was annihilating, setting records that were 10 seconds ahead of everybody. Like
Michael Phelps has 86 medals.
It's stupid.
86 medals.
Stupid.
That's just
medals.
unfair.
86 medals, and I'm pretty sure 12 years.
Yes,
That's absurd.
4 Olympics.
And
12 years.
that's not
four,
just
4
Olympics
years
medals.
technically,
but
4 years and 12-year span. It's
now
ridiculous.
those medals include Olympics, World Championships, but still
Yes.
to win.
But in the
86
Olympics,
medals.
he has something like it's like what, like how many gold medals does
No,
he
we
have?
had 23 in 1 year.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
or was it? Yeah, it wasn't something gross. That wasn't 23 in 1 year. That
I don't-
sounds-
It wasn't. It was
No.
like
Or
14
11
or
or
something.
something
No, it was in the
it was
double digits. It was 12 or something.
Yeah.
But still, anyways, Justin, did you want to add anything before I go with my point?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about between the three that do have teams on them. If it depends on how many times you transfer teams, I know Brady. The only two teams like that we really think about for him is the Patriots and the Bucks. So those teams are huge. You have to think about all like the players on there, how well you get along with them. When you have to transfer to a new team, you have to get used to a whole new style. Brady was able to do that within like 1 year of joining the Bucks after he already taught the Patriots along with that for about 18 plus years. I'm not sure if LeBron James ever went between teams. I know he's always just used to the
Yes.
Lakers.
Famous for it.
He's done 3.
He is.
He's done 3 teams.
He's only done
Gotcha.
3.
Three
but-
teams, but
Cavs,
he's
Miami,
transferred 4 times.
back to the Cavs, to the Lakers.
Yeah, but
Gotcha.
3 different teams.
So, another point that Andrew brought up, and I'm not trying to show Andrew anything. He brought up longevity. There are 2 people on this list that have been on the top or fighting for the top since there are 2 people on the list that have been playing since the 90s and are still good this whole generation.
3.
And 3. Yes,
Ronaldo
3. No.
was
No.
yeah, he
I looked
90.
it up. His first senior season was 2002 to 2003.
Was it really? I thought it was.
Every other year was juniors.
Okay.
I'm not counting juniors, not to discredit that. I'm only counting when they were an adult.
No, that's fair.
Tom Brady's been playing since '99.
Yep.
But the only person, and I should have considered this on my list, and I will, that's been playing and been dominant since 1997 is Tiger Woods. That dude has been dominant
Yep.
from '97 until 2019.
When
and there
was
a few years on the
was
gap,
Phelps
and
first one 2004?
First Olympics, yes. I think his first championship was earlier.
I think his
Yeah.
first Olympics was 2000, wasn't it?
Oh, was he in Athens? Maybe he was.
I
think
thought he
you're
was.
right. You might
I
be-
think.
I'm gonna look
I
it
don't
up.
think he won any golds then.
He
but
was
I think
still young.
I think.
He was
I
still
think
really
he
young.
appeared in 2000.
Well, he's like 18 years old.
But he was
so
there.
That tells you anything.
He
He was
was there.
So
Okay.
we're gonna do our
Yeah,
actual list next week,
but-
but really, my important thing with the kind of team versus single argument, I'm okay with disregarding the team because the whole point of playing a team game is that you are relying your teammates to at least equal you out or help you win the game. There are some players in this 6 and on the list that transcended their team and practically won to spite their team. And Tom Brady is absolutely one of those people, especially with really all 3 of his last Super Bowls, besides the Tampa one. All 3 of his last Patriots Super Bowls all felt like spiteful wins. They was not really there. The first 3 were all his defense. The second set of 3 was all him. And the last one was a mixture. I think he had everything he needed for that one.
They were
Yeah.
So for what that's worth, he didn't need to rely on the team for half of his wins. Ronaldo kind of like his team was a big part of it. Like it wasn't just him. Teams were stacked, teams are there. And when his teams aren't stacked, like Portugal, he has not won. That's a big thing. And Portugal's a good team, but they're not stacked.
They
That's it.
dominated today, though. To be fair.
And maybe they win this
No,
year.
no, they're
Maybe they
better.
come.
They're better now than they
But
have been.
Ronaldo didn't
Yes,
play.
I know.
Ronaldo didn't play. So tell me, if anything, if they win now, it's the same fucking story. So it really is. That's why for me, solo athletes, unless in my mind the individual player transcended their team, I think LeBron is a top 2, top 3 player of all time. I do not feel LeBron transcended his team. I do
Nope.
feel Michael Jordan transcended his team. And I see Jake's about to talk. When LeBron transcended his team was with the Cavs. Was with the Cavs. The first time he was too young, it didn't work. The second time he had Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and I would say that is the closest he got to transcending his team. I would say, you know what, in my mind I'm changing a little bit. I think that's the one time he transcended his team. But Tom Brady did it a lot.
The only
One day,
argument,
three.
the only argument that I could use to counteract that is that 07 Cavs team he dragged to the finals, and at least 2 of the Cavs teams he ended up dragging to the finals. I remember those playoffs. He was essentially just scoring 50 a night when Kyrie and Love went down and still got them to the finals. And there
took them
was
six.
it was a comment about from Draymond Green actually that was talking about LeBron, and he's like, nah, nobody else could do what he did against the greatest team ever assembled. He was talking about the 73-9 Warriors.
Yep.
And so that's the only point I would counteract that is that I think LeBron probably had to play a little bit of a tougher opponent when it came to the Warriors than Michael Jordan ever had to play. I know that he had to play Stockton and Malone and a couple other guys, but there was
But he
nothing.
did have a better overall team than Jordan had, especially early on.
I wouldn't necessarily argue that when you're talking about Jordan's 6 championships. I wouldn't. Especially
I'd say-
after they added
yeah.
Dennis Rodman.
That's getting off topic.
But that's off
It
topic.
is.
That's a little tough, but I do
to
agree.
be-
I kind of backstepped a little bit. LeBron totally carried the Cavs team to that
To
championship.
be clear, Michael
No,
Jordan is
I
the
know.
best basketball player ever. That's not a knock on Jordan. I just don't necessarily think that's absolutely accurate.
Yes. So I apologize. I did backstep.
Um,
I do think LeBron is actually he did transcend that Cavaliers team.
Yeah.
I just feel like Tom Brady,
Oh,
3
absolutely.
championships in a row, he transcended that
Yeah.
team.
Oh, yeah,
I think
absolutely.
this is just us looking and going like when you're talking is LeBron a great athlete and transcend
Yes.
teams? 07, yes, he dragged literally Walmart cashier players to do the finals.
Dude,
Like
the
they were
second best player on that
god-awful.
team was Larry Hughes.
Yep.
Nobody
Yeah,
knows
you
who
even
these
know who
people
that
And
is?
we're also, it's also so hard. It really is hairs that we're
you're
pulling
splitting
here because
hairs.
we're talking
Right.
about 6 of the top 10 players of all time in their sports. So
Exactly.
we're comparing sports, we're comparing types of sports, we're comparing situations. It's all different.
When,
I think when we go ahead,
do,
Kyle.
when we do this list next week, there are also other athletes that this
Yes.
6 didn't
Oh, yeah.
even mention.
So
This
many
doesn't even touch tennis. Where
Nope.
in general, there's been 4 athletes of this past century that have been dominant in that sport.
Yep.
Serena, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely dominating in that sport, and this list doesn't even touch. And now all 4 of those have been dominant, and all 4.
Well, and you
deserve
also have
all
guys like
monument-
Usain Bolt,
Usain Bolt.
who could be up there.
There's also people
Yep,
in
there,
hockey
let's
that
go,
you could you could talk about Alex Ovechkin being dominant, Sidney Crosby being dominant. You could throw it even in baseball. You could throw
Well,
it.
Kyle, that hurt a
Pujols.
little bit, didn't it? That hurt a little
It
bit,
did.
didn't it?
The fact that you just admitted Sidney Crosby deserves to be on this list, that really hurt my soul. But as a fan of sports, I can't not admit that. It's impossible to not admit Sidney Crosby has been dominant in the sport of hockey for the past 20 years, almost 20 years.
In my mind, there's no one really in baseball I can think of. I mean, I want to be biased. And
Oh,
the problem is that I feel like there's no players that started between, let's say, 97 and 2000 that have been so good for at least a majority of the last. I would be like, my first favorite comes to mind, Derek Jeter, but he
Yes,
started
I was
so
just gonna
early,
say.
so he
Yeah.
ended early. Like, he retired almost 10 years ago.
I mean,
yeah,
like,
but he's
Pujols,
still dominated in the
maybe
20th
Pujols.
century.
But that's like, we're talking
21st
about the
century.
century
Yeah.
best players. So that's why it's
Okay.
not his fault. It's the timeline.
No, but during the time he played of this century, he was one of the best players in his
What
sport.
was his rookie year? Do you know?
96.
So Tom Brady was a freshman in college and he's still playing. Just so we're on the same page.
Yes, but one less than Tiger, by the way, with Jeter starting professionally. So I get that. But baseball, I think, does a little bit different things on your body.
Yeah, and here's the thing about Jeter
Golf,
too. I'm a huge
it
Yankee
works
fan.
different ways.
I'm not gonna say he didn't dominate his sport, but he won a lot of championships and he was good. But he himself, as like what he was good, and at times great. But if you go look at his stats, he wasn't like he didn't have like
Over
Aaron
3,000 hits.
Judge.
No.
No. I'm not saying he wasn't
But-
great. But like if you go look, he didn't statistically dominate the way Aaron Judge just did last year. So that's why I'm saying like if I'm looking at somebody, I gotta go with like you said, Albert Pujols over the last 20 years.
True. Albert Pujols is
Would
the
each-
lone.
Maybe
Would
maybe
Ichiro
Miguel
get thrown into
Cabrera.
that?
Ichiro,
No.
He's one
In
of my favorite
mind,
baseball players, but I
actually,
don't know if he was dominant.
someone that would make
Yeah.
a 25 list. Justin Verlander is a super underrated
he
top 25
he
guy.
could be exactly over now where he is with his last
I would also
6
say Clayton
years.
Kershaw, too.
Clayton Kershaw's also
It's not
a
enough
top
wins.
25 guy.
That's the problem. But yes.
Uh,
No,
But we're talking.
not
I'm
doing
not,
top 10.
spreading it to top 25, obviously.
So
Top
anyways,
10.
I wouldn't put that in
point
my
being,
top 10.
baseball is hard at this point in its life where it just hasn't. Someone like a Shohei Ohtani, let's say like 15 years down the road, we may be talking about that.
Trout,
Oh,
10
yeah,
years
Like,
from now.
absolutely.
Trout, exactly. That's
I
another
think
guy.
Trout can honestly even be mentioned for
The problem is,
25.
Trout needs to win a championship.
Yes, I know. He does.
He
Used to
hasn't.
be the
He has
Angels
not
to be-
transcended his team. I have to
Yes.
say that he has not
It-
transcended his team.
Hey, I'll be honest. Aaron Judge tried real fucking hard,
And he
just-
almost
just
did.
sucked just bad enough.
It was terrible. So,
He
anyways,
really tried. That's really it for that. We're gonna do full list next week.
We're doing
Um,
10, right? That's what
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna do
top
top
10.
10.
We need to set a criteria. Obviously not here on the show, but like
No.
by yourself.
It's way more fun if we don't set a criteria. We're gonna set rules. Now.
That's gonna be so much
No,
chaos.
Kyle, your top 10 is
I'm
gonna be
putting
completely
Misty May
different from
Trainer
mine.
in
No.
Different from
I'm
yours.
not saying like rules. I'm just wanting to know like what's like
No,
If we
Bro,
do
any
one
sport,
one
top
per
10.
sport,
Any sport.
2000 and now.
no.
No.
My rules is just like what's the start date? Because to me, I would consider Derek Jeter playing in the 2000s.
No.
Like,
So
I'd
yeah,
say
2000.
it is if
So-
you played in the 2000 season and you played in the 2022 season, you are eligible. Like
Okay.
anything
That's
from
fine.
then in between. I don't care if
Okay.
you started
That's
earlier
fine.
than that. Tom Brady started earlier than that. Tiger Woods. But if you played between those,
That's
I think
enough
he would have to have
clarification
at least
for me.
played five or more years. I would think maybe even 10 in this.
well,
this
yeah,
century.
to be on the list, yes.
Well, because
But
way you
then-
said it, you could put Jordan in it. Technically,
no.
He
But
played
we're talking.
yeah.
seasons.
We are only judging off the play of this century. That's my point. You are judging
Okay.
on your seasons played between 2000 and 2022.
Okay, so everybody should really be looking at somebody that's played 10
So-
years or more.
So,
Realistically,
wait,
yeah.
Nick. Clarification though, if you're talking about, we're only looking at starting in year 2000. So anything the player did before 2000, we're not counting. Is that
No.
what-
We are.
Okay.
But as long as
We
they
are.
played for like 2000 to 2022 and it was like 5-10 years, that's probably what you're looking for.
Well, that's the
That's
thing.
why I
We say
just want
five.
clarification.
We're just looking at their play during the 2000s. So
Wait,
you can include
yes.
their play a little bit earlier, but we really, realistically, they're saying 5-10 years. A majority of their career should have been in the 2000s. That's our
Right.
point. And
That's
this
what I'm just wanting to clarify because the way you said at least 2000, it was kind of teetering on the fact
It's-
that we're not
you-
going to
so-
count before. But if we're counting before, then
so
That's fine, yeah.
some of Tiger's most dominant years
that's what I was thinking.
were
was before
the
2000.
early 90s, right?
Yeah.
He was
Late 90s.
equally as dominant. Late 90s, excuse me. He was equally as dominant from 2000 to 2007.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's great. If Tom Brady won 2 Super Bowls in 98, 99, but then he still won 5 more Super Bowls, that all counts.
Okay.
But
that's
if it's like
That's why I
like
just wanted the
Michael Jordan,
clarification.
who was 40-year-old and fat, like no, his best years weren't this decade. You know, that's kind of what we're looking for. So that's the criteria.
That's
That's what we're looking for. Anyways, anything else for today?
Just a reminder,
Fire
subscribe,
Matt
and go-
Patricia and hire Frank Wright.
Like, subscribe,
yeah.
follow the socials.
Make sure to like, subscribe, follow the socials.
Comment.
Definitely let us know what you want us to talk about. We're gonna be doing a top 10 next week. It's gonna be very exciting. We talked about doing this last year. We didn't do it, but now we're committing to it. It's probably gonna be the whole episode. There's probably gonna be some fighting. Someone might disconnect during the call. I don't know. We're gonna find out. So,
I wonder who.
it's gonna be interesting.
breakup.
This will be fun. We will see you guys next week for episode 42, the blunt episode, if you will, the dope episode. We will see you guys then. Steve will likely be high, and I hope you guys have a great week.
Peace.